Okay.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Good
Good
afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining
afternoon.
us today. My name is Marian Amwa, for those of you who might be joining us for the very first time. And I am the author of Breaking Through the Immigrant Handbook for Thriving in the American Workplace. I'm also the author of A Routine for Life. This is a children's series. And so today, I'll be your hostess and I'll be your facilitator for our conversation. I have two women, remarkable women who will share their stories or their journeys as entrepreneurs. And it is my hope that through these conversations, you are inspired, you are empowered, and you are challenged to chart your own path. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat and we will get to them. We will stop from time to time to see what questions we have, and we'll get to them. And also, I wanted to say this. Thank you to everyone who has joined over the past couple of months. We have received feedback. Some have talked about the lights. Some have talked about the glare on my glasses. Some have talked about the camera. Feedback is a gift, and we appreciate all the feedback that we are receiving to make our sessions better, to improve on them. And like Yaba and I were talking earlier, and we said we are building the plane as we fly. So we truly, truly appreciate any feedback you have for us to make our sessions great. And also, if you have topics that you'd like us to bring to bear to, discuss on our series, please, by all means, let us hear them. So today, like I said, I have two incredible women. Every time I say these people are great, but these are also, every time, anyone that I bring is great. I have known them for a while. I don't want to age myself this morning, but I have known Genevieve since I was 12 years old. And once in a while, you hear me saying Kwansuma. That is because I've known her for a very long time. And I have Abby. You see the name as Abna. I've known Abby since for probably close to more than 15, 16 years. She was a mentor. Now she mentors me. So the relationship has been very reciprocal. But welcome, join me in welcoming Genevieve and Abby to share their stories with you. And like I said, I'm hoping that you'll be inspired and you'll be empowered. So ladies, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Like
you.
You're welcome. Like we always do, we have a few questions, but as we go along, I can say something that is really profound. I can come back to ask you to explain, expound, or add to it. And so the very first part of this conversation is, can you just share a few things about yourselves? You don't need to go into details about the journey because you talk about that, but just introduce yourself to our audience. A few fun facts would do. You can mention your business, your title, your services. So yeah, you're welcome. Genevieve, do you want to go first?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I'm Genevieve. Like Marian said, yeah, we've known each other since we were 12, 45 years ago when we went to high school, middle school, okay, high school. So I work in the language services industry, okay. I am an interpreter and translator, generally a linguist. I also am a language consultant and an language oral proficiency tester. Now, I own and manage a business, African Language Consultants. which is a language service provider, and I work as a CEO and also the president. And we work with all African languages, from Ari to Zulu and 2,000 languages in between. Popular languages, Yoruba, Igbo, Swahili, Zulu, and then the very rare languages, in Africa. And I also am an individual contractor for the Department of Justice, Executive Office of Immigration Review. So basically, I work as an immigration court interpreter all over the United States and also with other federal courts and state courts. So that is a little bit about me. I come from Ghana and I'm from Winneba.
Very good. You have used some words. You are a linguist and the CEO of African Language Consultant LLC. Can you just explain one thing? When you say you're a linguist, what does that mean?
Okay, well, a linguist basically is someone who studies linguistics, okay? Language is so deep. There's so many aspects of language, and usually linguistics puts them all together. So that is who a linguist is. But now the definition has been extended to include those who work with language services. Okay, so interpreting, translation, transcription, you now sort of fall under linguistics.
Okay, great. Thank you. Abby, over to you.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty God for how far He has brought me. To Him be all the glory. He brought me out of the darkness into His marvelous light. And so I give Him all the praise, all the glory, all the adoration. Second, I would like to thank my parents for all their support and all they've done for me. There's a saying, proverb, which says that it takes a village to raise a child. And for me, with my story, as I share how I became a social worker, a clinical social worker, you understand that it truly has taken a village to get me to where I'm going. So I would like to also thank everybody who has played a role in supporting me to get to where I am right now. All my mentors, all my teachers, my counselors, my neighbors, extended family, friends, everybody who's been there for me, who has said a prayer for me, who has offered me their home, who has given me resources. I am grateful and I am thankful. I am here today because of the work that you've done. And that's what has brought me this far. I am a licensed certified social worker clinical. I am originally from Ghana, West Africa. My name Abena means born on a Tuesday. My nickname is Abby. So many people call me Abby instead of calling me Abena. I love what I do as a clinical social worker. I met Auntie Marian in 2007 while attending school here in Baltimore, University of Maryland School of Social Work. And I realized she's also from Ghana. Not only is she from Ghana, but she's also Fanti. I'm 50% Fanti, 50% Ashanti. So she took me on her wings and she opened her home to me as a student. She was always encouraging me. And now we are here after all these years. We get to do this together. Thank you for having me on board. Most of my work as a clinical social worker has been done here in Baltimore, Maryland. Over here, I work with children from age 5 to geriatric population, individuals going through various mental health disorders. I run a behavioral health clinic whereby we treat individuals who have various severe mental illness, who needs to be rehabilitated back in the community. I work with clinical social workers, psychiatrists, psychiatric nurse practitioners. I work with licensed clinical therapists. I work with clinical social workers as well. We also help train individuals who may have a high school diploma, who have a heart for helping individuals in the community. We train them to be able to go into the community to work with individuals who may have severe mental illness like schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, major depressive disorder, bipolar, who may have had a history of inpatient psych ward admission and may have attempted suicide, and they've stayed in the hospital and they have been discharged back in the community. So we go into their various homes and work with them to be able to get them rehabilitated back in the community so that they do not end up back at inpatient psych ward. That is Step of Faith Behavioral Health. The Step of Faith Foundation was founded 2 years ago in September, whereby we go into the community and we help provide services for individuals who are experiencing homelessness. Most of the things that we do is feeding them with perishable foods. Our goal is within the next 1 year or 2 years, we'll be able to find housing so that during the coldest times of winter, we are able to house these individuals experiencing homelessness. Most of the things that we do, we get volunteers who go alongside with us when we are on the streets. We get donations from people and other organizations to be able to go out there and provide these services for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. So in a nutshell, this is what I do.
Very good, very good. So for those of you just joining us, thank you for coming. Thank you so much. We know that this is the end of the summer season and people are going, have their shopping and all that. So thank you for making time. Now, Genevieve is the CEO of African Language LLC, African Language Consultant LLC. And Abby is the CEO of a Step of Faith Behavioral Services, and then she also has a foundation. You know what? Sometimes it's just people see the sausage, but don't know that a lot of work goes into making the sausages. Maybe I should use a vegetarian example, or making bread, or making something food. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into that behind the scenes. All that we see is the final product. That brings me to the question of, could you share a little bit about your journey? You know, we love to hear what was before and now we are seeing a little bit of your after, right? We are seeing the now what you're doing. What were you doing before you became an entrepreneur? How long did it take to make that shift? You might want to add in what inspired you to even become an entrepreneur. Is that a good question that you can share with us your journey? I have seen a little bit of your journeys from afar, and I believe that I know that it's very remarkable. And so a little bit about what inspired you to get there, your before, your now. I wouldn't say your after, because I know there are many more miles for you. And then why and how did you make that shift?
Would you like?
Maybe Abby goes first this time.
Okay, sure, thanks. So I will start. Born and raised in Ghana, West Africa. My parents were with me in my early ages back home in Africa. But, you know, sometimes your parents have to travel, you know, to help support the family. So my father left around age 7. So I had a relationship with both my parents, and, you know, everything was okay. And then age 7, my dad had to travel to the United States, and I was left with my mother and other extended family. I'm sharing this story because I also want you to see the reason why I became a social worker and how the community helped raised me, and how I believe that being a social worker is also helping give back to the community as to the supports that I've received, because it's taking a village to raise me. So I was with my mother and other extended families. They were all there supporting me. Around age 9, my mother also left from Ghana to the United Kingdom. So I was now left with extended families to raise me. I was left with aunties and uncles, and they all contributed in raising me and helping me. So growing up, but my parents, my father will come home every year to make sure that, oh, I'm doing well and go back. But for many years, my mother had not been able to get her stay in the United Kingdom. So I will have phone communications with her, but I will not be able to see her. But my father was in Ghana once a year to check on me to see how I'm doing. And so I knew that one day, because my parents are in United Kingdom and United States of America, one day I'm going to end up either in America or in
The UK.
In the UK. So I remember in Ghana, you go to junior secondary school, and when you are graduating from junior secondary school, you sit for an exam and to get into high school. I remember my father coming to Ghana, and he said that, okay, Abena, right now you're getting ready to finish junior secondary school. I want you to know, if you pass and you get to senior secondary school, I'm going to bring you to America. I was so excited. My dad says he's bringing me to America if I can get into senior secondary school. So I did my best, and I got I passed, and then I went to senior secondary school, and true to his words, he brought me to America. So by the grace of God, I came to America. I was with my family here. I was able to attend high school. I got a lot of support from my high school counselors, teachers, the community in general. They helped me adjust to the culture here in America. So after high school, going to college, I really was thinking, what do I do?
Literally, what is this? What did you just send me?
So I decided initially, when I was going to college, I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And when you go to college, at first, you sit with an advisor who will tell you about some of the, talk to you about what you are interested in doing, what your options are. So my college advisor shared some of these other fields of professions with me: social work, and other things like that. And when I looked at social work, it did interest me, because social work looked like something that, you are touching lives. You can either work with individuals, you can work with families, you can work with communities. It was so broad, and I said, wow, social work is very interesting. I would like to pursue my education in social work. So right from the get-go, I had an associate's degree in social work, then got my at Allegheny College of Maryland. Then I went to Frostburg State University, got a bachelor's degree in social work, then moved to Baltimore here, where I got my master's in social work. And in Baltimore, when you're doing your master's, you have to have a field of interest. So I chose clinical. That's where my clinical aspect of social work is. I chose children and families clinical. So that was where my focus is: learning about children, learning about families, human growth and development, psychopathology, and things like that. Being able to understand individuals and families and things like that. So right after school, I was able to secure my first job, which was working at Kennedy Krieger right here in Baltimore. And Kennedy Krieger, they had a department which was called treatment foster care, whereby I work with children who have been abused and neglected, and the state has removed them from the care of their parents, and not just placed them in foster care. It wasn't regular foster care, it was treatment foster care. So with treatment foster care, the treatment parents have been trained to understand why some of these children might be experiencing the behavioral problems they are experiencing, why they are going through stress. And all these children who were in treatment foster care, they all have mental health diagnosis. So these are children who have been through adverse childhood experiences. They've been abused, they've been neglected, they've been abandoned. So it's going to take a parent who will understand children who have experienced trauma, who will understand why these children are having these behaviors. So we work with these treatment foster parents, we train them. And whilst I was at Kennedy Krieger, also I received a lot of training. I had amazing supervisors, amazing program directors. They trained as social workers. So even though right after school I was licensed master social worker, I also received a lot of training to understand the population that I was dealing with. We will go and home visits, visit the children, visit the parents. We were trained in the ARC model, attachment, regulation, and competency, which is understanding trauma and working with children and families who have experienced trauma. We also work with the court system because these children have been removed from their homes, and some of their plan was either reunification with families, adoption, another permanency plan. And when the children are removed from their home, their biological homes, and they are placed in care, the court comes up with a plan. So sometimes we also work with the biological parents, providing family therapy so that the reunification kind of care, if that is the permanency plan for that child. I was at Kennedy Krieger for 5 years, and I believe Kennedy Krieger trained me a lot to be able to work with a lot of the population here in Baltimore. A lot of people here in Baltimore experience trauma, as some of them experience like gunshots, some of them substance abuse, other people experiencing severe mental illness. So whilst I was at Kennedy Krieger, I got the chance to also work at an outpatient mental health clinic. I worked at 3 outpatient mental health clinics, Change Health Systems, Optimum Health Systems, and National Pike Health System. I worked there both as a mental health therapist, a social work supervisor. At one point, I was also a clinical director at one of the clinics, and we work with various individuals who have mental illness. So they come in and we do our initial assessment, which is diagnosing. We use the DSM-4 TR. The DSM-4 is like the Bible in mental health, whereby you clinically ask a lot of questions, a lot of assessments. You ask a lot of questions. You ask like family history, what do we call it, what history of presenting illness, past psychiatric history, social developmental history. And then after you make your assessment, you come up with a diagnosis. After diagnosis, you create a treatment plan, and then you start your therapy sessions, and then afterwards you discharge the individuals. I worked also at I'm not sure if I should stop here and then continue.
Yeah, it looks like you had a lot of experience. So if you can
I
briefly
do.
jump to, from the experience, how did you make the shift? Because I hear you worked at Kennedy Krieger and a number of other places. So how were you able to make that shift? And then why? And then we go to Genevieve because we have a number of questions. Yeah, but great experience.
Thank you. So after working with multiple organizations for quite some time, in social work, you get to a point whereby you have to sit for your advanced license. That's the highest license you can obtain in social work. Once you get that advanced license, it makes you an independent social worker. That means you can practice independently. So in the year 2013, I was approved by the Board of Social Workers to be a board certified supervisor. And also I was an independent social worker because I had my clinical social work license at that time. So I registered Step of Faith, which is now Step of Faith Behavioral Health, as an independent clinician. So the goal was just to take my clients on my own and just be seeing them. To be honest with you, I never dreamt of becoming an entrepreneur. I look at my story and I see grace and favor by God, because all my life I thought I was going to be working for various organizations. But I think that, they say the race is not to the strong, swift, or the battle to the strong, but it's God that shows mercy. I'm someone that God has shown me mercy. I'm someone that God has shown me grace. I never dreamt that I will be sitting here and I will be called, a business owner. I will have a foundation. I look at myself, when you look at where my parents come from back home in Ghana, they are from Abasa and Meduma, someone from Africa coming to America, and I am an employer, So I give all the glory and thanks to God. So that's where my journey began, when I started seeing patients on my own, under my own license. So I was working for other organizations, but I was going in as an independent contractor. So I will go under a business and I will be seeing clients through that business, but I was an independent contractor. So I wasn't coming in as their employee. I was coming in as an independent contractor. And while seeing the clients, they are paying my business. So after some time and with a lot of thinking, I decided that, okay, I believe that I can go ahead and run this program myself without having to go through other businesses, becoming an independent contractor. So I started with the group practice, which is Step of Faith group practice, and we still have that. So Step of Faith group practice is made up of other therapists, psychiatric nurse practitioners, and then they come in. So I have Step of Faith behavioral health, but other clinicians come in as contractors. So right now it's set up in that way. And then we have the Step of Faith psychiatric rehabilitation program, whereby we have these patients that I said have severe mental illness, that they've ended up at hospitals, inpatient psych wards, because they've attempted suicide and they need higher level of care to be rehabilitated back in the community. We take individuals who are interested in helping people become stabilized. We train them, so you don't have to be licensed. You come in, you care for people, and we train you in human growth and development, understanding, diagnosis, and you go out in the community and you support these individuals. So that's how.
Wow. I mean, we could take the whole day. So can you just pinpoint to us, what was your motivation? I don't think I've heard that. I'm sure. What inspired you? I know that you said you didn't plan to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you can think about it. Was there a defining moment for you that made you say, aha, I don't want to be a contractor anymore. I don't want to work for an organization anymore. I want to start my own service, employ. Was there a defining moment for you? And you can give it a thought whilst Genevieve starts thinking about it. I can get back to you.
Sure. Let Genevieve.
Okay, Genevieve. So for those of you joining, thank you. We know that this is a very busy weekend. People are doing their back to school shopping and all that. So thank you for making the time to hear us. We have Genevieve Genevieve, if you hear me saying Kwanzaa, because I went to high school with her, Genevieve Pepra and Abi Adoku. Both of them are CEOs. They have their own different businesses, remarkable journeys. And so now we'll turn it over to Genevieve too. And the question is, could you share a bit about your journey? We'd love to hear your before and after or now story. What were you doing before you became an entrepreneur? How did you make that shift? What inspired you? What was the motivation?
Well, I would say that my first experience with entrepreneurship, even though at that time I didn't know because I was a child, was growing up around women who were entrepreneurs in their own way. My mom my mother, for example, was a registered nurse, training in the UK. But, when she came back to Ghana, she was working as a nurse, but she had some side gigs that, I helped her with. And my mother did everything. There was, a lot of businesses that she started, all in to help her family and put food on the table. And my grandmother also was someone who inspired me a lot. My grandmother was a baker. She sold things. And even though there were older sisters and older aunties working, with her. I mean, as a child, I had to, my grandma's, what she wanted was not to, get me spoiled, but she wanted to equip me with skills. So I learned how to, bake bread and, go to the mill and all those things. And so those were my unique first experiences with entrepreneurship. Okay. But I know, and so as an adult, when I started my early career, early working life, I always had a side gig doing, selling this and that. Okay, even though I had regular jobs. Now I moved to America 22 years ago. My first job in America was working for a nonprofit in Harlem, New York City. And that was a big thing for me. It was an eye opener. Okay, and first of all, the owner of because it was a community-based organization, a nonprofit in Harlem, and our boss was also an African, also from Ghana, and so he was the first entrepreneur I met in New York or in America. And, we were doing HIV prevention. And, we had some clients who were also, entrepreneurs. And, when they come for meetings, when they come for assessments, they will chat, and then, they'll tell me about the things that they do. And I remember even getting interested, in the trucking business, because there was one of our clients who was a trucker. He had fleets of trucks, and he was telling me about his job and what he did, and I got interested. So I started thinking more about business in America. Okay. Now, after a few years, when our contract ended, I did some other things. I did temp jobs. I got introduced to corporate America. So I took temp jobs because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I even, worked for the census 2010 as an enumerator. And then I got interested in, becoming a teacher, through the encouragement of my auntie. So I went to do some training and, to teach French. I took the practice exams and, so I was I even, became a home health aide because I was interested in learning how to take care of, the elderly. My mother, I knew that at some point I'll have to take care of my mom and all that. So I wanted, I did that, every now and then. But one day in 2008, I got a call from one of my classmates, and she said, "Oh, Genevieve, you speak Ga. I know you speak Ga. Yeah, there is a court that needs a Ga interpreter. And I mean, there is somebody who has an agency and she's looking, she contacted a friend of mine who contacted me, and I don't speak Ga. So I said, "Oh, that's interesting." I mean, of course, at that time, my Ga was, not too good, but I thought that, okay, I jumped at the opportunity because my background was languages. I studied languages in Ghana in college. I studied French and then also studied Swahili, okay, which was quite unusual at that time. And so anyway, I took that opportunity. I went to, the lady told me what to do. I went to the court. And, first of all, the judge was like, "Oh, where have you been? We have been looking for an interpreter for 3 months." I'm like, "Oh, that's so," And I went to the court, it wasn't too much of it was a traffic case. So it wasn't difficult. And then the judge asked me when, they had to adjourn the case, and the judge asked me when can I come back? So it was like, it was your time. And I was going to Ghana the next day. So I said, okay, I'll be back in a month. And by the time I got home, the lady, the agency owner called me and said, oh, you know what, we have another request for a Ghana interpreter in another court. And she gave me the date, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to make it because I'm going to, I'll be coming from Ghana that day, and I don't think the flight will get here. And she said, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'll call you back. So she calls me back in about 10 minutes, and she said, oh, you know what? The judge has agreed to, it was supposed to be 2 p.m. We were going to make it 5 p.m. so that you can, make it. And I'm like, oh, I'm quite important anyway. So from that day when right from the airport, I went straight to the court and I did it. And then I went to do this other case that was adjourned. So within a few weeks, I had done these 3 assignments. So it got me thinking, wait a minute, I should look at this seriously. So I mean, you did languages, and so I went online, okay? I went online and just did some research to find out more about, languages and interpreting and all that. And then I discovered that languages in America, language services in America is big. There's a lot of funding that goes into training, Americans to learn to speak other languages. So it was interesting. I found out about agencies that I could work with. So I put my resume, I called these agencies, and they were excited. Oh, we don't get African languages, so we're happy to have you. So I put my resume together, and then I applied for these, to work with these agencies. And then I discovered that, how to become an interpreter in New Jersey and become a certified interpreter in New Jersey. So I went through the training and took the exam. So I became a certified interpreter in New Jersey. And so it was just, just doing research. And then I found out about professional organizations relating to the industry, the American Translators Association, the National Association for Judiciary Interpreters. So I got to know about all these. And in 2010, I attended a conference in Orlando, Florida for the NAJIT, the National Association for Judicial Interpreters. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that I had to stand out and shine, okay? And so I packed my little bag. It was a 3-day conference, put my African clothes in, and, so I got there. In fact, I was the only Black, and, I had my African attire, and, so I kind of stood out. And I mean, people approach me and, they ask me what I do, and, so I realized that I also had a product, something that, and it was at that conference that I learned that we need to be, even though we are interpreters, individual interpreters, we need to incorporate, okay? We need to see ourselves as businesses. So I incorporated December 2010, and I created Genevieve Pepra LLC. And, I made my cards, Twiga, Fanti, Swahili interpreter, okay? And
Twiga, Fanti are Ghanaian languages because there are others here who are not familiar with those.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so Twiga, Fanti are Ghanaian languages, and Swahili is the language spoken in East Africa, and French, I speak French fluently. So I had my cards, and I was, so I was working with these agencies, and excited, and I will go on assignments, and just getting excited, working with refugees and all that, But and then these agencies, they started asking me, to reach out in the community because they need other African interpreters, and they say, "Oh, Genevieve, we know that you speak a lot of African languages. So can you find somebody who speaks Fulani? Can you help us?" And then I was, I was connected in the African community in New Jersey, and I had some friends, so I would reach out and find these people. And, of course, they don't know what to do. They don't know. So I would give them a little training, give them some tips, and then, give them to the agency. And, so I was happy, like, I was doing things, I was making a difference. But then suddenly it dawned on me that, I mean, I could do my own thing. You know, I am giving these referring these resources to the agency. I could do my own thing. I could start my own business because I was an agent, right, more or less. So I can start my own business, an agent, you know, to develop myself professionally and, you know, as a linguist, as an entrepreneur, and also be in a better position to help the African community in different ways. Because I got to know as I networked in the community, I attended community events, that we had unique needs. There was a lot of communication barriers. People were not able to access certain services because they could not communicate, you know, and they could not, you know, navigate the American system, you know. From my experience, it's, you know, there's, you know, living in America, you know, and navigating the system was not easy. And so even for me, who spoke English very well and had a fairly good level of education, you know, so what about these people who are limited English, and and a lot of them not having, good education, so I knew that I could better help by starting my own business and getting easy access, you know, so that these people can get easier access to me. So in 2012, I started, I registered the DBA. So it was Genevieve Pepper LLC, doing business as African language consultants, you know, and I did that because I knew that I had to promote my brand and, you know, carve out my niche, okay? And in 2013, I changed the name of the business to African Language Consultants. And over the years, I did learn more about what to do to become, you know, a better entrepreneur. I acquired my certifications, registrations, and today, African Language Consultants is a vendor for 26 state courts and counting, hospital schools. We provide services all over the United States. We work with all African languages, and we also
Wow.
provide services in Africa, in various countries in Africa.
Wow. Okay. I could I could just listen to both of you all day long. Now, I think I picked two things. Abby, you started your business in 2013, is that right?
2013, yes.
Wow. I didn't even know this. And then Genevieve, you also started your business in 2012, 2013.
Yes, so it's actually 2010 I registered the sole proprietorship, and in 2013 I registered the LLC.
Very good. Now, I heard from both of you. I mean, very, very different journeys, but inspiring. Abby, I know that you stress a lot on it takes a village. You've enjoyed a lot from your experience, your parents, you know, leaving you in Ghana, UK, USA for to better themselves, right? And how the system, family system, people in Ghana supported you. You came to the US and your counselor supported you. Working at Kennedy Krieger, you had that support, right? So the only thing that I think at some point you talk about that defining moment. I haven't heard that defining moment that pushed you into entrepreneurship. Same thing I heard from Genevieve, starting seeing your parents as entrepreneurs and all that, and coming. And for you, I think that one of the defining moments was that one phone call you got from a friend who said, come do a translation in Ga. And I want to underscore that somebody has defined poor as passing over opportunities repeatedly. You could have said, no, I know that your Ga wasn't as strong as it is now, but you took the opportunity, and then the rest, as they say, is history. Great, great, inspiring story. I mean, great. I have a question. Abby, do you want to answer that question about your defining moment quickly? And then, Genevieve, I have a question for you. I want to ask you a question about your business. Yes, Abby.
So my defining moment, sitting here thinking about it, I think as I registered the business, then everything started falling in place, because I had registered the business, but I was still working as an independent contractor. And whilst I was working, I used to get a lot of encouragement that, you can still see other clients who may not have this insurance because the places where I was working, you had to have like a federal insurance, like Medicaid, before you be able to see these clients. But how about people that had commercial insurance or people that are self-pay? So it was limiting me as to the kind of clients that I'll be able to see in these clinics that I was working at. So when I registered my business, then it opened the door for me to be able to accept commercial insurances also. So that's where the transition began to happen. But I never thought that I was going to go fully out eventually to be on my own. I thought that, oh, I might still be working for people here and there, but then the need came. So students that needed a preceptor, they were doing their internship, they needed a social worker to work under. So eventually I had to leave other people's organization to focus on mine, because now my organization was growing, and so I had to make that transition.
Very good. Wonderful, wonderful. Fantastic stories. Fantastic story. Genevieve, I have a question for you. And I'm looking at the time. I have a question. Why do you call it African language and not languages?
Well,
Is there a reason?
well, there is no, I mean, you see, every language, African, from Africa is a language, okay? So we are kind of individualizing the languages as well as putting them all together, okay?
Very good. So I'm asking this question for a friend. Can I be an interpreter? So I speak Fanti, I speak Tree, a little bit. I speak Tree, I speak a little bit of Ga. Can I be an interpreter or a linguist, or maybe not linguist, but interpreter, translator?
Sure. So as African language consultants, we are constantly recruiting new linguists, new interpreters, translators. I mean, if you speak an African language, you can become an interpreter. You just have to be trained, and we offer training. We are licensed interpreter trainers, so we offer you training, so that you get the skills to become an interpreter. I mean, it's not just enough speaking 2 languages. You need to be skilled. You need to have the skills to become an interpreter. So we do offer training for all African languages. Like I said, there are 2,000 plus languages, and we're getting requests daily for languages that probably I've never even heard, and I have to Google to find out what language it is.
Okay.
So whatever language you speak in Africa, African language, you're welcome to join out.
Thank you. Thank you. And Abby, I'll get back to you about a Step of Faith Foundation. They do a lot of good work in the community, especially Baltimore City, and you can volunteer, right? Can you say just a little bit about that? And I want to go to the next question.
So we go down to Baltimore City. We go to 5 locations every other Sunday to feed individuals experiencing homelessness and give them also used clothing. It needs to be in good shape. It needs to be washed. You can't just give anything that you want to give because you're giving it to individuals experiencing homelessness. It needs to be something. So if you are giving out your clothes, it does not have to be ripped, and you need to wash it, and it needs to be clean. It needs to smell good. And so you can donate it to us, and then we'll take it to individuals experiencing homelessness. If you have, we get non-perishable food. So for example, fruits. It needs to, anything that you're not going to eat, don't give it out. Don't say, oh, these things are going to the poor, so let me just give whatever. No, if you will not eat it, please don't give it to another person. It needs to be in good condition. And if you would like to volunteer, please definitely let me know. We need all hands on deck. The need is great. So
very good, very good. Both of you, I heard from you, are out there to helping, whether it's the homeless, somebody who is traumatized. All your businesses are an answer to needs, and that is what makes a business successful or not. It has to answer to something. Of course, Abby, you've talked about yours. Genevieve, you've also talked about yours, about helping those who maybe are limited English proficiency, navigating the system. So great, great, great work. And I want to ask you a question about what challenges have you encountered and how did you overcome them? Yes, if you can be brief so that we can get to one more question before we end, one or two more questions before we end. What unique challenges have you encountered as immigrant entrepreneurs and how did you overcome them? Very much interested in how you overcame them so that they become like tips or resources for others. So this time, Genevieve.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, first of all, the major challenge for any business, any small business, is financing and funding. I mean, when you start, and you're an immigrant and you don't have connections, you can't just go walk into a bank and say, I want a loan. You're working, you have no business credit, you're working on your personal credit, you have no collateral. So, that was a challenge. But, I started small. And like I said, I took in other jobs, term jobs, I even worked as a home care, doing home care jobs so that I can have funds to pay my interpreters. I mean, I needed to pay my interpreters, way before I got my paid by the court or anything, so that they have confidence in me. And so I did all these things. And then as I grew and as I joined professional organization, I got enough knowledge to know how to access funding, grants, and stuff like that. So working and joining these professional organizations and gave me access to information. And then, of course, as a startup too, you have issues with staffing. I mean, meaning we have the interpreters, the temporal, the independent contractors, but staff and working in the business, managing the business, doing administrative stuff. I learned along the line that as a business owner, you need to work on the business and not work in the business. I mean, you need to do more of working on the business than working in the business. But when I started, I didn't have staff and I had to be working in the business, all the time. But, with time, I, was able to overcome and be able to hire a couple of people to help me so that I wouldn't burn out. And now one of the major issues that I had was the lack of understanding and ignorance, about African languages, the importance, the value of African languages. We coming from colonial background, Western language was more important. In fact, at some point, you remember that, when we spoke our own language at school, you were punished or things like that. Okay. So that's the background, the mindset that we had. Okay. And so I remember when I first started and I'm telling people, though I'm an interpreter, their first is, you're interpreting French, Spanish. And I'm like, no, I'm interpreting Twi and Ga. They say, oh, I mean, okay, and so you can see the disappointment in them, and so it was a challenge, and I needed to spend more time educating, the potential linguists and interpreters about the value of our languages, that these languages are assets, they are knowledge that we have. Without your interpretation, the doctor, no matter what knowledge he has, cannot do his job. So I had to spend a lot of time educating. And it's, took a lot more time, but I'm glad that, as I continue to educate the people who began to understand. And then I went into the communities. I attended community events and I exhibited the business. And so when people came to these events, they were like, oh, okay, African languages. And I gave out materials. So I think that was a big, I needed to change the mindset for people to see that, our languages have value, and I mean, I must say that as a Twi interpreter, I get paid more than, interpreting French. Why? Because there are very few of us.
Wow.
And because I'm working with real languages, I have a bit of control over what I am charging because they have nowhere to turn to. Okay.
Okay.
So this is something that these are some of the challenges that I was able to overcome. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you all hear that? She gets more paid translating into Twi than into French.
Oh, wow.
Did you all hear that? Okay, very good. So financing was a big issue, and I like that you took other jobs. And for those of you who were here when Henitha Bianca came, she said something to me that sometimes you have to do other jobs to sponsor your passion job. So very good. Learn how to access funding, joining professional association, and then staffing, Then I like the statement about work on the business. So as a visionary, at some point, you have to work on the business, not so much in the business, in the weeds. Thank you so much for sharing. Abby, same question to you. What unique challenges have you encountered as an immigrant entrepreneur, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. So as an immigrant entrepreneur, first of all, the language barrier. I've had to work on my language because I realized that I have an accent, an African accent, but I'm in America working with mostly Americans who speak American English with an American accent. So I have to work on my accent so that I can speak and my clients will understand what I'm speaking. My work is talking. So if my clients do not understand what I'm saying, I'm not going to be able to be effective. So I've had to work on my accent so I can make impact. The other part also, yes, the finance part. Any program that is licensed by the state is going to give you their regulations and you have to follow the regulations. Otherwise, you could get shut down when you get audited. So we've had to do lots of trainings, documenting the way the state wants us to document, making sure that everything that the state is requesting is what we are doing. Obviously, when you get audited, you get fines, you have to write program improvement plans, you have to give money back for not following state's regulations. So that could be challenging, but through it all, we are learning and we are making improvements every day. And as I said, things hopefully will get better every day. The more we practice, the more things get better. So it comes with challenges of having a business.
Fantastic. Language barrier, work on my accent. My work is talking. So how do I find ways to speak in such a way that they would understand? And I've had one session that someone said, I don't want to change my accent. I don't. Yes. And the point we make is that, do you want to be right or you want to be effective? We are not saying change your tongue completely, but sometimes you need to find ways of speaking in a way that your clients will understand. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, once again, thank you for all those who have joined us. I see faces. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are about to end. We have about 15 minutes to end. And you know that all these conversations are based on my book, Breaking Through the Immigrant's Handbook for Thriving in the Workplace. And I'm so glad to have these amazing women here. So, Genevieve and Abby, what is your favorite topic or most relevant topic from Breaking Through, and how can you relate it to entrepreneurship? If you can be brief, and then we'll have one last question.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay. Oh, go ahead, Abby.
Okay, thank you. So for me, I like the chapter when you talk about having ally, having mentors, and things like that. I believe that is so true. There is a saying which says that wisdom is not in the head of one person, and people have experiences, people have done things and they know things. So when you have a mentor, somebody who is there to coach you, to support you, you improve on yourself and you get better. They say you can learn by going on a field trip or sitting in the classroom to learn. I think life comes with both. Some things you learn from having mentors, some things you learn by having life experiences. But when you have mentors, when you have a support system, they are there to push you, to guide you, to help you, and it makes you a better person and it helps your business also thrive. So that's one thing I like from your book.
Great. So Abby, that is chapter 4. Have an ally. Have an ally. We go into have a coach, have a mentor. That is chapter 4, page 34. You can get the book from Amazon.com, either Kindle, or you can get the hard copy. Genevieve, same question to you.
Yes, I must say that it's really difficult to choose your favorite because I just love the book. Okay. But I would say that what stood out to me, the topic, chapter on building relationships and networking, that is what has helped me, joining all these professional organizations and networking with my fellow interpreters, working with, other language companies, learning. It's just, it's, spurred me on. And then also I love the chapter on standing out and shine. That is what I have tried to do, carving out my niche, standing out and shining as African language services provider. So I'm learning that I also have something to offer, and and so those, and then of course the mentorship allies. I'm grateful to my family for all the support. I have my auntie who has been a great mentor. She supported me emotionally and financially. When sometimes I'm down on cash and I need to pay the interpreters, she's helped me out. So, I just love all the chapters. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So she talked about chapter 3, that is networking, and chapter 9 is stand out and shine. And then of course went back to Abby's own have an ally, that's page 34. So those are great. I think that it goes back to Abby's point. I think both the chapters that you have picked up include it takes a village. That is not in my book, but just hearing the story. I mean, when I say that is not in my book, I mean, it takes a village is not a title or a topic in the book, but just hearing from both of you, it's taking more than just you. Your networks have supported you, your communities have supported you, your families have supported you. So that is great. Now let's go to the final question. I mean, I think I may have to have you back so that we can really tease apart. We can actually get a curriculum out of the things that you are saying in your journeys as entrepreneurs. But what advice would you give to aspiring immigrant entrepreneurs? Somebody wants to start a business. Somebody wants to start something. So as I heard from Abby has followed the same line. She started as a social worker, and through the experiences built on it and has her own company now. She's an employer. She also has a foundation. Genevieve's experience was very different. Did languages in Ghana, worked in nonprofit. Somebody invited her to interpret at a court, and then the rest is history. Now, very different stories, but inspiring, very remarkable. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if somebody wants to start a business, what do they do? Any tips you can offer?
Okay, I would like to say that we should always think and look outside the box, okay? Educate yourself. When you come to America, we come with preset ideas, okay, what we want to do. It's just all because of, how we've been educated back home. But yes, when we come to America, you have to think and look outside the box. Educate yourself about the opportunities here in America. America has a lot of opportunities and promise. I remember one time I went to an IHOP with, visit, with some friends. And then there was this lady, she was a clown, okay? And she was coming there every Friday. It was Kids Eat Free Day, and she was doing things with the kids, face painting, balloon sculpturing, and I was very interested. I was just looking at her and seeing what she had so much skill. And I happened to, have a chat with her, and she told me about what she does and how much she was making. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, this is a clown and this is what she's making, And so America has a lot to offer. So we should not limit ourselves to what we just know. We should just educate ourselves. And then we should, you have to start small. You don't have to start big. You have to start small. You should be organized. And then you should be passionate about what you do. That is what America is tough, and you can get burnt out easily. So make sure that you do what you are passionate about. You have to enjoy what you do. Don't force yourself to do just because this person is doing this or a lot of people are doing this. This is what I'm also going to do. No, it will not go well. It's not only about money, it's a lot of passion which leads to success. And then stand out and shine. Whatever product you have, make sure you stand out with it and shine. And that is what helped me a lot. I would go on our, I travel a lot because of business, and I will exhibit our business, my business at conferences, okay? And I had my booth. The table skirt was kente. I have a muka ginger there. I have some, shea butter for people to try, in addition to our language brochures and all that we had. And all the time it was like, oh, this is the most the prettiest attractive booth. And, it drew people to us and, helped the business. So let's stand out and shine. Whatever we have, stand out and shine. Do what you're passionate about. Start small and be organized.
Wow. Wow. Genevieve, think outside the box. Start small. Sorry. I'm Ghanaian, so Ghanaian American. She used Ahmuka ginger is a candy, but has ginger as the base. I'm looking at the audience and I know people are from different countries. But think and look outside the box. Start small, be organized, be passionate, stand out and shine. Stand out and shine. Very, very good. Abena.
Yes, that's very good. Mrs. Genevieve, yes, I really like what you said. What I will say is that everyone needs to have a vision. What is your goal? What is your passion? What are your interests? What's your purpose in life? Once you begin to think about these things, then you can take it from there. And so once you have your vision, knowing this is my dream, this is what I want to do, then you can start working towards that vision. And whatever you are doing, do it from your heart, And when you are working for someone, don't think that, oh, I'm doing this for somebody. Just give your best, because you never know where you might end up. If you have a goal of starting a business, then definitely be talking to other business owners, talk to other people who are doing what interests you, and take it from there. Seek a lot of counsel, seek a lot of advice, talk to them about some of their challenges, how they are able to overcome them, some of their successes. How do you start? There are consultants who are there to help you, but there is definitely, America definitely has a lot of opportunities. As Mrs. Genevieve said, you have to think up outside the box. And I would like to end with this quote: if you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But whatever you are doing, don't stop moving forward. Keep pressing on, keep pushing on. And I believe that with the help of the Lord on your side, you will overcome and succeed.
Wow. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't run, crawl. Whatever it is, just be moving, right? Wonderful, wonderful. Abby said similar things: vision, passion, purpose, interest, work from your heart, talk to others, network. Hasn't it been amazing? I don't know whether there are any questions, but let me read a few comments and then we'll be ending 9/10. We'll be ending very soon.
Hello, Miss Queen.
So I can't, okay, Yaba, it's amazing how God, the master weaver, has a plan and purpose for all of us. Amazing ladies. Inspiring journeys. Amazing. What is the average income? Okay, there's a question for you. Wait, what's the average income for an interpreter? Then our African languages are valuable indeed. Yes, very enlightening. Idana, so true. My preset plan was languages. Be willing to take advantage of opportunities, even if you don't know everything. This is very good, Ishmael. Ifwa, very insightful. Thanks for inviting me. Wow. Okay, so let's try and answer that question. And I promise you, 12:15, you'll be out of here. Genevieve, the question is, what is an average income for an interpreter?
Well, first of all, it depends on we as interpreters, you can work a few hours, you can work multiple days, and then also there are full-time jobs for interpreters. We've been able to find full-time jobs working for various government departments, but generally anything from $50 an hour to $150 an hour, and then or full day, you have full day rates, or we have interpreters that make 6 figures, so it all depends, if it's conference interpreting, it all depends. But anybody who wants to know more can, contact me. My number is 973-449-5514, or you can contact me at Genevieve@AfricanLanguageConsultants.com, and we can have in-depth conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. African Language Consultant LLC. That is Genevieve Pepra.
Yes.
She's the CEO. And like she said, they are always looking for interpreters. Then A Step of Faith Behavioral Services, A Step of Faith Foundation is Abby. You can volunteer. You can also give back. You can consult her, for if you have any questions about starting your own business, going in that social work or interpretation. These are resources available. You can contact me and I can definitely link you up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Can you help me appreciate these ladies? Put in some emojis, say thank you, or I'm going to start. I'm going to put in an emoji. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable at times. It's not always a straight line, but you are where you are. I've heard by the grace of God. Thank you. But I don't know which one. There were so many. Think and look outside the box. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Just do something, start something. Thank you all so much for coming, and we will see you at the next session.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you so much.